All right, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100, we start with SPY, and you can see that you're still trading in this kind of chop in this overall range right above 580, which is really nice. But again, you keep bouncing off that support around 578.5. Below that, you have downside of 175, give or take. But again, it's just like that sideways action. And you look at SPY today, you don't really get great action. There's nothing to really look for here. You can't get above 582.5. Nothing really great. But on the other side of this, you look at something like the Nasdaq, specifically the futures. And again, we look where we're at, right? The big resistance that was established here on the 14th of October, we kind of rejected there going in from Friday. We opened up Monday morning, dropped down, and then today we get back over that level. The biggest thing here is your big range, and this is really closer to like 20,300. This is your big range where you kind of spent a majority of your time for the past month, give or take, right? Look at the hold right here. This is your 4-hour time frame. Great hold from basically yesterday, 9 a.m., all the way into today, going into around 9 a.m. So 24 hours, give or take, right? Just holding there. Right above that, acting the top of that range as now a support, trying to break out. And right now, you look really solid. I mean, you're making higher lows. This is what you wanted to see. You're breaking out. The Nasdaq looks good. Now, there's a few things that we have to talk about that go into this with earnings today, but this is a really good start. So the first thing I want to talk about is what's happening as far as earnings. Number one, I'm not going to spend too much time on Google. This is what we really like to see. We talked about the neckline of 168.5. You got above that today. And then earnings, you're shooting up to 180. I think right now you're looking at Google to push into all-time highs now. I'm going to tell you that right now. As long as Nasdaq holds up, Google should get that push towards 192. I think you try to push 200 sooner than later. The big thing I want to talk about is what could hurt the market more, which is AMD. Now, AMD's earnings are interesting, and we'll talk about them in depth here for a second. We saw a really nice push over the past 48 hours from Monday into today. Buyers galore. Earnings come out, you drop down to 155. It's like, who could have drew the story up, right? SMH, semiconductor, the ETF, had a very good day. I posted this on Twitter as well. You're trying to mount your key level of 256. And in here in the after hours, you're now rejecting back below that level. So that's what I want to talk about and take you through right now, okay? Because again, semiconductors basically lead the Nasdaq, okay? Understand that. When it goes to, QQQ, et cetera, semiconductors, a little bit of tech, right? That's kind of what it seems like the movement is right now. So a few things. Now, the number one reason AMD didn't do good today, it wasn't because of their earnings. It wasn't at their revenue. They beat. EPS beat. It was okay. It was good. Your gross margins are even high at 50%, right? But again, this is a similar reason why NVDA dropped, I believe it was at their last earnings. NVIDIA had great earnings, but they still dropped to the downside. Net margins. And you missed by a slight bit, 0.2%, right? They did revise guidance down slightly as well. That is worth mentioning. But again, guidance and then overall margins. The important part here is that NVIDIA is able to get their margins so much better. And right now, when you're looking at AMD and NVIDIA, it's a big competition, right, of who is the big leader. And it's very clear that NVIDIA is the leader. Like you look at 2023 projected and growth, massive, massive move here on NVIDIA, like still turning. And AMD's growth isn't slow. It's still really solid. But it's not as good as, NVIDIA is a different type of beast, right? So you have to understand that yeah, they're still the number one, competition, or the one right behind NVIDIA, if you will say right behind them in comparison to everyone else. It's kind of like Usain Bolt running the race, and you have some random guy in second, right? He's still really fast, but he's not Usain Bolt. That's the best way to understand this, right? So you had a great day overall, but you dipped back down. And again, we have to wait and be patient here to see how this does affect SMH and semiconductors. So far, you're only at 255. You're still above 255, so you still look solid. So on higher time frames, I'm still a big fan here of semis. I think you could bounce back up. I don't think this is a net negative for overall semiconductors. You had news today around AVGO working with Microsoft moving forward as well. So that's also good news to think about, is because AVGO is one of the largest holdings of Nasdaq as well. So NVIDIA and AVGO are the top dogs there. This makes things more interesting, right? Can AVGO get continuation as well into tomorrow's, or breaking back into those highs as well? That's the big question. But AMD, not ideal, right? Not ideal. And I keep saying this, until you get a very strong hold above the 200 daily moving average, you don't want to favor the long side, especially into these earnings. And this is another great breakdown of understanding that earnings can beat, EPS can beat. You can even have guidance be positive, right? But if they revise down at all, you might just get a big old U-turn like you did today, even with the momentum that was playing out there specifically. But again, Google looks phenomenal. Google looks like a beast. I'd be watching it. Also, too, Reddit reported. I told you guys know I love Reddit. I've been saying this for a while. It's like one of those longer-term mid-caps. I mentioned at $55, $60. You're at almost $100 now. So congrats if you got into Reddit. It's moving really. I think they're just a long-term going to be a great name. So we'll definitely keep them, top of your focus as well. But also too, just know, going into the rest of this week, we still have more earnings coming in here. Tomorrow, it's, equally as important. Tomorrow morning is Dow. Like, understand that tomorrow morning is Dow. You have Eli Lilly, you have Caterpillar. Those are massive names when you go into tomorrow. And then the after hours, you have Microsoft, Meta, and Coinbase. I think Coinbase most likely destroys. They should do really well. Robinhood should be interesting as well. They probably have a lot of deposits. So again, those are probably going to be easy beats. But I think Microsoft and Meta are going to be the big game changers and really push the market forward if you get that. Today was a little bit back and forth. AMD holding semis back. Google looking really good. But I do think Google is really good for what's happening with Meta, what's happening with Microsoft, and this shift towards AI and what they're doing there. So I do like that. And I think this is going to potentially get us some upside going into the market tomorrow. Obviously, Thursday is very big with Amazon and Apple. We'll go more into that tomorrow as well. So again, I just said, I think going into this, the big worrisome factor is what AMD influences the market right now, right? However, I still think you most likely have upside into tomorrow. Let me be very clear why. First of all, you're still holding up. Number two, QQQ is very close to all-time highs. You're about 3 points, 4 points off. And the after hours, you're like $2 off, right? I think it's very likely we get a push into 503 and start breaking all-time highs on Qs. Now, Nasdaq futures, obviously, there's a little bit of a offset there, but I think you still look very good broadly on the market and what's happening with tech in general. And I think you're setting up for a very good Microsoft earnings, or just the overall, as you can see, the after hours, you're already getting buy side to 436, right? Good momentum, good viewpoints going into there. Meta as well, getting back above 583, mounted in 593, pushing into all-time highs as we speak. So again, I think you're going into these earnings with the mindset of the AI shift is still there. It's less semiconductors, more the companies implementing it and figuring out ways to monetize it and overall increase their growth. And I think that's the story that you're seeing right now. So I don't want to tell you YOLO into tomorrow or anything like that. I still think going into these earnings, I'm telling you right now, I'm very, very liquid. Only things I have are my leaps on NVIDIA. I have some Robinhood leaps. That's about it. Okay, so I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of unnecessary risk, but I think these earnings give you that viewpoint and give you that kind of confidence going into tomorrow. If you start seeing continuation, it's likely we start pushing up, 20,900, 21,000. Like, we can start getting those volatile days on. And this is some of the action we were looking for. And really quickly, guys, just for me today, minimal trading for myself, right? The only thing I got into, and it was pretty late in the day, but I got into AVGO before we had the really big pop there. That was awesome. And then obviously I got into NVIDIA as well, which only made it into target number one, didn't get to push target number two. There's no reason to try to be the first one in. There's no reason to try to increase your risk that you have to put out there, guys. You're gonna get good action from this, and we've been saying it all week. Expect good action from these earnings, and kind of to switch the overall chop that we're in. And that's the big thing right now. So again, going a little bit deeper, let's look at a few things and understand this too. Volume on the day. Still, it was better. We know, obviously too, our average volume on SPY is upticking throughout the week. So we're still slightly upticking. Yesterday was pretty pathetic. Today's slight uptick. I expect more volume coming in. Tomorrow's probably going to be a decent-sized volume day. Again, getting a bit more of that bounce, more volatility as well playing out there as well. So again, that's what we're looking for. And just know Wednesdays can be some of our red days. But again, this is earnings, so I kind of throw this out of the window. I do think I think Friday is the worrisome day for me. If any day here is worrisome, it's Friday because Apple's earnings. But I could be we'll go into Apple earnings tomorrow. We're not going to do that today. We'll be here too long. Okay, now let's look at the dollar real quick. The dollar kind of topping out here, just rejecting off of these highs. We want to see this pull back, so still a little bit worrisome there. The 30-year yield still sitting at that resistance of that downtrend. I've been telling you guys all about this. You want to, for very bullish action, full risk on, you want to see below 4%. We are not there yet. We'll pray to God that this election can change this for some people out there. We'll see. The 10-year yield also still in that downtrend as well. You can see there as well. So really quickly, just bring that up there. Bring this right here as well, so you can just quickly see exactly what we're looking at. You can still see that downtrend playing out right there. So you're still right at it. So again, the 10-year, 30-year just sitting in that downtrend as we speak. But the big thing here too is Bitcoin, another big risk on indicator here. Bitcoin trying to break out. I mean, this is one of the best patterns I'm always looking for when it comes to Bitcoin or any type of breakout pattern of the downtrend. And it's called the bump run. I talk about this all the time. All you want to see is a break, a retest, and continuation. Simple, get out, break, bump, run. That's what you're looking for. And you had that action right there, verbatim. So breakout, retest, good wicks, pushing back up. Crypto looks really good where you're at. Continuation here looks very likely as well. Again, names like MicroStrategy are going berserk. I'm going to tell you right now, I think Coinbase beats on earnings. I really do. I think it's highly, highly, highly probable, especially over the past few weeks. So I'd be watching out for Coinbase. And I think if you get a dip on Coinbase, it's a major buying opportunity. I also think if you look at Coinbase as a chart, like this is one of the better setups out there as well. Again, you can kind of see a little bit of a downtrend. I wouldn't call this a flag, but I like the little downtrend that you're kind of sitting in here. I don't know why it's not grabbing that, but I like the downtrend that you're sitting in here. I like the breakout here. Again, what we're looking for, as long as you hold the 200 SMA, I think dated calls on Coinbase look very good. And I'm in the camp of I think this could get back into all-time highs in a hurry, just like MicroStrategy is going literally berserk here, like going out of this world. Once it broke 200, it was gone. So again, big opportunities across the board. I'm very excited with where we're at. Ideally, too, I know a lot of people are going to ask about the election. I'll go more into this as we get closer to the election, which is next week, which is crazy to say out loud. But I'm going to tell you right now, I expect good action into the election. Probably a little bit of buying right shortly after early November 5th through like the 7th. And then I expect a little bit of a dip, some consolidation. I think that's going to be the big opportunity before Christmas and Thanksgiving rolls around. But what I'm looking at, what I'm excited for right now abroad in the market, also to VIX, you're still sitting around $19 at 200 weekly SMA. We would like to see the VIX drop as well as we get out of the election as well. But just know that there's going to be a lot of volatility as we move into next week with the election going on. I don't think it's going to be just smooth sailing. I think it's going to be a little bit of back and forth as we're going there as well. But guys, make sure, again, to get these updates, things like that as well, the Twitter link is your best friend. I'm posting my charts throughout the day, stocks I'm watching, updates on AMD, earnings, etc. I'm trying to keep you guys as updated as possible. So make sure you tap in if you're interested. Again, Discord spots, we don't have any available right now. We'll have some hopefully coming up sooner than later. So if you're interested, Twitter always gets first come, first serve. So make sure you're following, try to keep you guys as updated as possible. And again, a few things we're looking for tomorrow. I think it's highly likely tomorrow QQQ breaks all-time highs. I think you are going to get the push. You're going to try to at least get that push into 503. That's what I'm looking for there. The Dow looks pretty horrendous as we speak. DIA looks very bad. But understand, you have big earnings tomorrow. Eli Lilly, Caterpillar. And when we look at Eli Lilly, they're one of my favorite stocks here if you break back above 940. Above 940, I think it's calls galore. Above 966, you're looking for the breakout, trying to get a push into 1,000. We'll see what happens there. Caterpillar, you've been getting a pretty decent little pullback here. Now, if earnings go bad, I'm not interested. But as long as earnings go decent, you're holding your previous high. As you can see there, a perfect touch. 382, you still look good. Looks like a break, a retest, and textbook what we love to see. Textbook action, right? Break, retest, continuation. So if earnings come out good here, we're happy with where we're at. We're happy with the continuation, and we're happy with what's overall happening here in the market. And Dow got a big pullback. We go look at YM. Dow's definitely the weakest, index out there right now. But guess what? Big earnings could quickly flip this, right? We saw XLF, banks popping off, still kind of bull flagging up here at highs. Again, I think those all just follow suit. Everything will just step right back in. You'll start getting bullish ones again. XLV healthcare coming right back into previous highs, and the 200 SMA, very good spot where it's at. Again, you need to be watching those earnings before you just jump to any conclusions. But so far, I like the setup. I like where we're at. And I like the opportunity for continuation here. Keep your head on a swivel. That's what I'm watching. Most bullish so far on what's happening with QQQ, Nasdaq. But we'll see if we can get continuation into tomorrow morning. Follow for more content. Meta, Microsoft tomorrow. Be careful. Don't over risk and hold things overnight. I'm going to tell you right now. If you're holding it overnight, make sure you're okay losing it. Make sure you're okay losing that money. Have a good one, traders. We'll see you tomorrow.